You've been taking your fish oil every single day. You picked it up at the pharmacy. It says omega-3 right on the label, and you feel good about it. You think you're protecting your heart, supporting your brain, doing everything right. But what if that capsule you swallow every morning is actually delivering something else into your body alongside those omega-3s? Something you never agreed to take. Something the label never mentions. Heavy metals. Mercury, lead, cadmium, arsenic. I know that sounds alarming, and honestly, it should get your attention. Because here's the truth. The fish oil industry is largely unregulated by the FDA when it comes to supplements. Manufacturers are not required to disclose how much mercury or lead is in their product. They don't have to, and many don't. But here's the good news. You don't have to go without omega-3s. You just need to know which types of fish oil supplements carry the highest risk, and exactly what to look for instead. So today, we're going through 12 specific types of fish oil supplements you need to be very careful about, or avoid altogether because of their heavy metal risk. Stay until the end because I'm also going to tell you what to take instead and exactly what to look for on the label. Let's get into it. On number 1, shark liver oil supplements. Let's start with one of the biggest offenders. Shark liver oil has been marketed for decades as an immune-boosting, anti-cancer wonder supplement. And sharks do contain beneficial compounds called alkyl glycerols. But here's the problem. Sharks are apex predators. They sit at the very top of the ocean food chain, and they live for a very long time. That combination is a disaster for heavy metal accumulation. Every smaller fish a shark eats, every prey it consumes over its decades-long lifespan deposits a little more mercury, a little more lead, a little more cadmium into its tissues. Scientists call this process biomagnification, and then the oil is extracted from the shark's liver, the organ that filters toxins for the animal's entire life. That liver is essentially a storage tank for whatever the shark absorbed from polluted waters. A 2010 lawsuit in California directly targeted shark liver oil products, citing excessive levels of polychlorinated biphenyls, also known as PCBs. That lawsuit named multiple well-known brands. If you have a bottle of shark liver oil at home right now, it's worth a second look. On number 2, cod liver oil without third-party testing. Cod liver oil is one of the oldest supplements in history. Grandmothers swore by it. And cod liver oil does have genuine benefits. It's rich in vitamins A and D alongside omega-3s. But here's where it gets complicated. Cod are not small fish. Atlantic cod can live for over 20 years, and when a fish lives that long, it has 20 years worth of opportunities to absorb whatever is in its environment. Cod liver oil comes from the liver. Again, the body's natural detox organ, which is where toxins tend to concentrate. On top of that, many budget cod liver oil supplements on the market skip the molecular distillation process, which is the gold standard for removing heavy metal contamination. And without third-party testing certification, things like an IFOS certification or NSF international approval, you genuinely have no way of knowing how much mercury or cadmium made it into your capsule. This doesn't mean all cod liver oil is dangerous. It means that any cod liver oil without independent verification of purity is a supplement you should think twice about. On number 3, tuna-based fish oil supplements. Tuna is tricky. It's one of the most popular fish in the world, and tuna-derived omega-3 products are widely available and widely consumed. The problem is that albacore tuna, the most common tuna used in supplements, averages around 0.35 parts per million of mercury. Compare that to sardines and anchovies, which register closer to 0.01. That's more than 30 times the mercury concentration. Big eye tuna and bluefin tuna are even worse, sometimes reaching nearly 1 full part per million of mercury. These are large, long-lived predatory fish, and tuna-based supplements sourced without rigorous purification carry a genuinely elevated contamination risk. Tuna-based oil isn't automatically dangerous, but it demands a higher standard of purification than small fish oils. If a tuna-based supplement doesn't explicitly state it has undergone molecular distillation and independent third-party testing, skip it. On number 4, low-concentration fish oil capsules under 30% EPA and DHA. This one surprises people. You might be thinking, what does the concentration of EPA and DHA have to do with heavy metals? Actually, quite a lot. Research has shown that low-concentration fish oil supplements, those with 30% or less of actual EPA and DHA per capsule, tend to contain higher levels of contaminants than their higher concentration counterparts. The reason is simple. If 70% of what's in your capsule is not omega-3, what is it? It's filler oil. And that filler oil brings with it whatever toxins, PCBs, and trace heavy metals weren't filtered out during a cheaper, less rigorous purification process. Low-concentration oils are generally produced with less expensive manufacturing methods. Less refinement means more residual contamination, so that bargain basement 1,000 milligram capsule with only 180 milligrams of actual EPA plus DHA, it may cost you less up front, but it could be giving you far more than you bargained for. On number 5, fish oil supplements sourced from polluted coastal waters. Not all oceans are created equal. Fish harvested from heavily industrialized coastal regions, particularly certain areas of Southeast Asia, parts of the North Atlantic near industrial zones, and regions with high agricultural runoff, carry significantly higher burdens of heavy metals than fish caught from cleaner, deep water fisheries. Here's the problem. Supplement labels rarely tell you where the fish was actually caught. A product might say wild caught, and that sounds reassuring, but wild caught from where? Wild caught from a bay near a coal plant is very different from wild caught off the coast of Norway or Alaska. If a brand doesn't clearly disclose its sourcing regions or doesn't have an independent certification that verifies the purity of its raw material, geographic contamination risk is simply an unknown. And unknowns are risks. Demand transparency or find a brand that offers it. On number 6, farmed salmon oil supplements. Salmon oil is enormously popular, and wild-caught salmon is genuinely one of the cleaner omega-3 sources you can find. Low mercury, relatively low contaminants, high in EPA and DHA. But farmed salmon is a different story. Farmed salmon are raised in crowded pens, fed processed pellets that often contain fish meal from lower-grade marine sources. Multiple independent studies have found that farmed salmon can contain significantly higher levels of PCBs, dioxins, and persistent organic pollutants compared to wild-caught salmon. In some analyses, farmed salmon showed PCB concentrations nearly 10 times higher than wild salmon. Salmon oil supplements derived from farmed fish carry that contamination risk forward into every capsule. If a salmon oil supplement doesn't specify wild-caught and doesn't have independent certification to back that claim, You could be consuming the concentrated contamination of a farmed environment every single day. On number 7, fish oil in ethyl ester form, without proper purification. Here's one that very few people talk about, and it matters. Fish oil comes in different chemical forms. The two most common are the natural triglyceride form and the processed ethyl ester form. Ethyl ester fish oils are produced when manufacturers chemically alter the oil to concentrate the EPA and DHA. That process itself isn't necessarily harmful. In fact, it can increase potency. But here's the issue. Ethyl ester processing, if done poorly or cheaply, can leave behind residual solvents and contaminants if the purification step is skipped or rushed. Research also suggests that ethyl ester omega-3s are absorbed less efficiently by the body compared to triglyceride-form fish oils. So you're not only potentially getting more contamination risk from a lower quality ethyl ester product, you may also be absorbing less of the omega-3 you actually paid for. The takeaway? If you see ethyl ester on the label, make sure the brand has rigorous third-party testing and a certificate of analysis to prove it. On number 8, generic store brand fish oil with no certification. Walk into any pharmacy or big box retailer and you'll see rows of generic store brand fish oil. The price is tempting. Sometimes it's a third of the cost of name brands. And you might think, well, the FDA regulates supplements, so it must be safe, right? Here's the truth. The FDA does not require supplement manufacturers to prove their products are safe or pure before they hit shelves. The burden is on the FDA to prove something is harmful after the fact. That means countless generic fish oil products make it to market with zero independent testing. Without a USP-verified mark, an NSF International certification, an IFOS 5-star rating, or a publicly available certificate of analysis, you have no way of knowing what's actually in that bottle. Studies have found significant variation between what's on the label and what's actually in generic fish oil supplements, both in terms of omega-3 content and in terms of contamination. Cheap can be very expensive if it's costing you your health. On number 9, rancid or oxidized fish oil supplements. This one isn't directly about heavy metals, but it belongs on this list because it compounds the danger. A landmark 2023 study published in the Journal of Dietary Supplements analyzed 72 of the most popular fish oil brands on the market. The finding was staggering. 45% of them tested positive for rancidity. Fish oil oxidizes. When it goes rancid, it doesn't just smell bad and taste like a bait bucket. Oxidized fish oil generates harmful byproducts called lipid peroxides. These peroxides can actually cause the same kind of oxidative damage and inflammation in your cells that fish oil is supposed to prevent. And here's the insidious part. Many brands add flavoring agents specifically to mask the rancid taste. So the capsule goes down smooth, you have no idea the oil is degraded, and you're taking something that is actively working against you. Rancid oils also tend to come from lower quality production runs, the same productions that may cut corners on heavy metal removal. The two problems often travel together. If your fish oil smells or tastes fishy when you bite into it, not just marine smelling, but actually unpleasant, there's a very real chance it's already oxidized. On number 10, high-dose fish oil without medical oversight from unverified sources. More is not always better. And when it comes to unverified fish oil, more is definitely worse. Here's why. Heavy metal exposure from supplements is cumulative. One capsule from a contaminated source might deliver a small, seemingly insignificant amount of mercury or lead. But if you're taking 3, 4, or 5 capsules a day from that same source, because you read that high-dose omega-3 is better for inflammation or heart health, you are multiplying your heavy metal intake accordingly. Some people self-prescribe very high doses of over-the-counter fish oil for serious health conditions, thinking they're doing something therapeutic. But a 2024 study in BMJ Medicine actually found that unregulated fish oil was associated with a 5% increased risk of stroke and a 13% higher risk of atrial fibrillation in people without existing heart disease. If you genuinely need high-dose omega-3 therapy for a medical condition, the safe option is a pharmaceutical-grade prescription product like Visipa or Lavazza, both of which undergo rigorous FDA scrutiny and have verified absence of heavy metals and environmental toxins. Over-the-counter high-dose fish oil from unverified sources is a risk that simply isn't worth taking. On number 11, fish oil supplements with no listed source fish on the label. This might seem like a small detail, but it's actually one of the most telling red flags on a fish oil label. Reputable manufacturers always tell you exactly which fish were used to produce the oil. Anchovies, sardines, mackerel, herring. That transparency isn't just marketing. It tells you that the company knows its supply chain, knows its raw materials, and is confident enough in their quality to put the source right there on the label. When a label just says marine oil or ocean fish, or gives you zero information about the actual species, that vagueness is often hiding something. It could be a blend of whatever was cheapest and most available at the time of production, which could include higher contaminant species. It could be oil sourced from regions with poor environmental controls. The rule of thumb is this: the smaller and more transparent the fish source, the safer the oil. Anchovies and sardines are small, short-lived fish. They simply don't have enough lifespan to accumulate significant levels of heavy metals. Products built around them from reputable manufacturers represent the lowest risk omega-3 on the market. If the label won't tell you what fish is inside, don't put it inside you. On number 12, fish oil supplements marketed for children without verified purity certification. This is the one that matters most, and it's the one we need to talk about most seriously. Children are not just small adults when it comes to heavy metal toxicity. Their developing nervous systems, their growing brains, their immature detoxification systems, they are exponentially more vulnerable to the damage that mercury, lead, and cadmium can cause. The World Health Organization has explicitly stated that there is no safe threshold for lead exposure in children. None. Even minute amounts of lead have been linked to lowered IQ, behavioral problems, and cognitive developmental issues. Yet the children's fish oil supplement market is flooded with gummy vitamins, flavored syrups, and chewable capsules, many of which are produced with the same lack of transparency and third-party testing as their adult counterparts. The added flavoring often masks the taste of poor quality, possibly rancid oil. And the marketing is bright, cheerful, and completely designed to make you trust it. Any fish oil supplement you give to a child should carry an IFOS 5-star certification, a USP verified mark, or an NSF certified for sport seal at an absolute minimum. Anything less is not acceptable, period. So there you have it, 12 types of fish oil supplements that carry a genuine heavy metal risk, and now you know exactly why. But let me leave you with something positive, because this isn't about walking away from omega-3s altogether. Omega-3 fatty acids are genuinely important for your health. The goal is to get them safely. Here's what to do instead. Look for fish oil sourced from anchovies, sardines, and mackerel, small, short-lived fish at the bottom of the food chain. Look for IFOS certification, the International Fish Oil Standards Program, which is considered the gold standard for third-party purity testing. Look for the USP Verified mark or NSF International approval. Ask the manufacturer for a certificate of analysis for your specific batch. Any legitimate company will provide one without hesitation. If you want completely zero heavy metal risk, consider switching to algal oil, omega-3 derived directly from algae, the very original source that fish get their omega-3 from in the first place. No fish, no food chain, no bioaccumulation. Clean, verified, EPA and DHA. Your challenge this week is to go home, pick up your current fish oil supplement, and look for those certifications. If they're not there, look up the brand and ask for their certificate of analysis. You deserve to know what you're putting into your body every day. And if you found this valuable, share it with someone you care about who takes fish oil. It could genuinely make a difference. Stay informed, stay healthy.